What up, everyone? I hope everyone's having a great Friday. I'm on vacation now, but wanted to make a quick video on what I believe is going to end up being a very important piece of news, and that is that CME Futures is coming to XRP. This is a really big deal in legitimizing XRP as an asset. And funny enough, just the other day, I actually made a video talking about this exact thing, how XRP itself as an asset is going to be very important in the financial system we're heading into. There's a lot of emphasis from the XRP community for very good reason on the importance of the XRP ledger and kind of taking emphasis away from XRP, the asset. And while I think this is very important because over the long run, we want to see advanced financial products built on the XRP ledger. We want to see the XRP ledger used for DeFi. We want to see the XRP ledger kind of have more utility brought to it, which are all very important things that involve the XRP ledger. And it's true, a lot of these things are going to add very deep utility that we've never seen possible before, given the current technology in the financial system. But one of the things that I think is just slept on, kind of, is XRP itself having utility in just being a decentralized neutral liquid asset. This is something that is exponentially important to the financial system we're heading into, and when it can actually be liquid on an institutional level, when we can actually have an asset that any institution can leverage for liquidity, but doesn't have to worry about the counterparty risk of relying on another centralized party, that is critically important, and I believe that itself makes XRP as an asset so important. And important in ways that we've never even seen play out before. Like, we have never had an asset that is counterpartyless, jurisdictionless, and also extremely liquid and can be moved anywhere in the world in less than 2 seconds. Like, a lot of people go out and try to make predictions for how valuable this could be to the market, how much value would come into XRP because of this. And I think people need to understand that because we have never actually seen this play out, we're only guessing, and the market's likely going to be so much bigger than many people can truly wrap their head around. And like I said, this is just for XRP as an asset. This is not even tokenization on the XRP ledger, DeFi coming to the XRP ledger, or anything like that. This is just the asset itself having deep utility in it being an asset the world has never seen before. And I really do believe being able to move that from point A to point B less than a couple seconds is really going to add deep utility to institutions who have been acquiring an asset like this. So let's talk about how CME Futures actually play into this, because this is one of those pieces of news that I believe is massively important and will just kind of fly under the radar for a lot of people. The CME is the largest derivatives exchange in the world. And when the CME lists something, it brings a very big amount of credibility to that specific asset. Whether people like it or not, the way large institutions really look at an asset is where it's listed, right? Who's behind it, who interacts with it. And being listed on the CME essentially puts this asset in the institution's hands in terms of being able to profit on its price action. Now, this is a big deal because as soon as you have large institutions seeing XRP derivatives on the CME, it is going to add a level of validation to XRP, the asset, because they are going to look at it and say, oh, a large exchange like the CME actually vetted this. This must mean it has a certain level. This must mean it has a certain level of sophistication over the rest of the assets in the market. So that's the first really big reason why I believe this is going to be a game changer for XRP, the asset. Just the notoriety it brings to the asset in terms of credibility with large institutions. The other thing that's very important is for an XRP ETF. So far, the only way we have seen a crypto asset be able to get an ETF is if the price action was first monitored on the CME. And this is not how you have to have an ETF. We have seen other ETFs before in the past where there wasn't CME data before, but it has kind of been a loophole to get through the SEC to get the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. Now that we're going to have futures data on the XRP market, this is going to make it so much easier to get the SEC to actually prove an XRP ETF. And the SEC actually doesn't have as much say over it as many of you might think. The SEC can deny the ETF without futures data, but because they already let a Bitcoin ETF through with the futures data, an Ethereum ETF through with the futures data, they wouldn't be able to get away with saying, okay, this is a different asset, therefore we're going to treat it differently. The SEC isn't allowed to do that, and therefore the futures data on XRP is going to give the XRP ledger price movements or price action the same level of respect Bitcoin and Ethereum got in terms of those ETF filings, and therefore I believe it is only now a matter of probably a year or two before we are certainly going to have an XRP ETF. So in my mind, this was a huge step forward in solidifying the fact that we will have an XRP ETF probably at maximum within 2 years. Now, I believe on top of that, right, you also have a Ripple IPO that I believe could happen in that same time period. This CME listing really doesn't have anything to do with that, but I do think it would be a big advantage for large institutions to be able to sell their customers on, hey, here's some Ripple equity. Let's also get you involved in the transformational digital asset this company Ripple is using, XRP. You can buy that asset through our XRP ETF. So kind of two different ways to kind of market assets to their customers, and that's what these big institutions do, right? They want to sell their customers different products, and therefore they can make revenue based on their customers. So I don't think these institutions are going to be maximalists in any kind of way. I think these institutions just want to bring their customers exciting new companies, exciting new assets, and if they can get their customers excited, that's going to ultimately generate them revenue. So I really do believe the CME listing is going to be huge for that. The next big thing that the CME listing is going to do is allow institutions to hedge. This is so important. Guys, a lot of institutions just simply cannot take the risk of only going one direction on these markets, right? If they are long Bitcoin, they also want to make sure they have hedges in place in case the trade goes in the wrong direction. For people like me and you, right, for retail, this isn't that important for us to do because we're dealing with much smaller amounts of money. But for the biggest institutions out there, they need to make sure they're properly hedged. And right now, you just can't do that in the US market for XRP in a good way. Yes, you can run off to offshore exchanges, you could go to Binance, but for most of the big institutions pushing real volume, they just want to see it on the CME. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, the legitimacy added for being on the CME. Well, now institutions can go long XRP with that ultimate hedge on the other side, which is going to be so important for actually hedging their bets and allowing them to invest in the XRP ledger or XRP ecosystem, specifically XRP, a lot more confidently. So ultimately, it is going to be a huge step in giving institutions the tools they need to actually use XRP in their financial products or invest into the asset. So overall, this is really a massive step in legitimizing XRP. We kind of went through this entire time period where the SEC tried to delegitimize XRP. The SEC tried to say, oh, this thing's a bad asset, it's a security, but we really saw a lot of the industry start to go against XRP, right? We saw a lot of exchanges delisting, and now to me it just seems so obvious we're on the other side of all of that. We had the SEC lose the case, confidence that XRP is not a security. We had all the exchanges that delisted it, then relisting it, and now we're actually getting listings for more conservative institutions that further legitimize the asset rather than delegitimize the asset. So things like the CME ultimately listing XRP is really something that would have never happened prior to the SEC case ending and us getting the confident answer that XRP itself is not a security. So this really all goes back to the Ripple SEC case, getting that win, Judge Torres ultimately coming out and saying XRP is not a security, but maybe most importantly and most slept on is John Deaton actually forcing Judge Torres to make that determination by actually fighting for the XRP holder in that case and making sure that we got designation on our XRP and this case didn't just end with Ripple only getting clarity. So maybe another little slept on thing there, and I'll give a shout out for John Deaton, obviously, running against Elizabeth Warren. Wouldn't that be an incredible win for us to get? So ultimately, more big steps forward. I know this isn't going to be the thing that's reported by CoinDesk. They only report anti-XRP stuff, right? This isn't going to be the thing blasted by all the big influencers, right? It will go right over their feed. But this is, to me, a huge step in legitimizing XRP for the largest institutions out there and really showing that we're making forward progress here. We're taking steps towards legitimizing XRP, and that time period in which we were going the wrong direction, I really do believe that's over, and we are now fully moved past that. So The last thing we really need to really see some big adoption is the Ripple SEC case finally ending. The last kind of controversial take I'll put on here is like a lot of people think, oh, the case is already pretty much over. If institutions were going to use XRP, they would already be doing it. XRP is already not a security. Why does it matter at this point if the case is still going on? Guys, institutions are not following this case like you and I are. Like, I hate to say it, we're kind of the experts when it comes to this case. Large institutions really aren't looking at it like we are. They're waiting for it to wrap up, and then when it wraps up, they'll dig into it. And in 2 quarters from then, after they talk to their board of directors, after they talk to their presidents, after they talk to their integration teams and how they're probably going to integrate it, that's when they'll actually start putting announcements about using it. But they're ultra conservative. They don't need to take risks they don't have to take, and they don't want to pick fights with the SEC. After watching how long this case has gone on, it makes sense why they wouldn't want to pick a fight. But I think this case is going to end probably towards the back end of the summer. We're going to get some really interesting news in terms of big Ripple partners we didn't know about, and we're just going to see a continued upward trend of big institutions legitimizing the XRP ledger and XRP until it's rightfully on the same status in their eyes as something like a Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I believe ultimately it's going to surpass that. And anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to drop a like. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.